Right.
He's got up in the rates for that.
Do you two want to carry on your talking about whatever this is, or shall we get on with the actual preview? We have one person watching us live. Hi, Mum. It could be Daryl's mum. Daryl's with us this evening. Daryl is the super legendary surprise guest that no one thought he was going to get on because he's been very busy. He's also had a little bit of a rough time of it the last couple of days. We won't talk about the reasons why. But Jamie, you're on as well. Good to see you. How pissed are you is basically the question that everyone wants to know.
I'm grand, Dave. We're working on it.
Oh, so we might be able to get some good results at the first couple of races then. And then we've got a new, fresh, young face. He's literally 2 days ago just turned old enough to gamble. It's George Hartley.
Cheers, Dave. Nice to be here. Hopefully make it back for another one, but we'll see how we get on.
Yes, you'll be fine. You won the Steve Mullington Moldog tip thing, didn't you? So you're basically, that was your prize for winning that, to come onto here, wasn't it?
Well, I actually got a calendar from one of the bookies at Haydock, and it's one of the best things I have. So, 2 prizes.
Yeah, this isn't sponsored by the Calendar Club at Haydock. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to smash into it. We are going to talk about all the races at Cheltenham. There's 8 of them, and there's a lovely mare's bumper at the end for me to get stuck into. You'll all have to wait and find out what the absolute nap of the year is going to be in that race. Before that, though, on Twitter, I put out, because I never read the live comments as they're coming up. It's basically just man like Wayne Harrison telling us about all these bets. Wayne, still, the offer's there if you want to come on to the next one. We've got spare space on the screen for you to come in. But the up for discussion, I'm going to put on the screen some questions that came from Tweeter. You guys won't see it in the room, but you'll hear what the questions are because I'm going to say them out loud. And then we'll throw it back to the floor to see what the answers could be. And then if anyone's got any selections away from Cheltenham, like Jamie's always got an advanced tip for the Welsh National or the Hennessy or something for next year, we'll discuss that right at the end. So hopefully it won't be too long a one, but it's what the people want, isn't it? More of our face. So we're going to go through some of the questions off of Twitter in no particular order. Carl Hinchy, thank you very much for being involved, Carl. Is there any point in having a novice handicap chase on trials day, quoted? Now they've done away with the equivalent race at the festival. Should it have been replaced with a relevant trial? And if so, what? So, I mean, I'm quite happy to go straight in with that one. The only relevant trial that it would be, because they binned it off for the mare's chase, would be to run another mare's chase. We've already got enough mares chasing, so no, we do not need another equivalent trial. They need to just bring it back, didn't they? And especially now that Boodles are sponsoring the Gold Cup, just bin the Boodles handicap off. They've already got a race at Cheltenham, haven't they? Bring back the handicap. You're all just as disgusted as I am, aren't you? The Close Brothers handicap was one of the greatest races of the festival, wasn't it? Jamie, how did it hurt you when that went? Because we always had one for that, didn't we?
Joke, Dave, to be honest, it should be there. As I said, what's the point of having a novice handicap when you don't have a novice handicap, say, like final at the Cheltenham Festival? To be honest with you, I think the worst race of the Cheltenham Festival is the Perthames final. That series has to go. It's a heap of crap. To be honest with you, it's a waste of time. I don't know why they just don't have a 145 below 0 to 145 3-mile handicap hurdle or something like that, you know. But the novice handicap has to come back. The problem is if you bring that back, they'll bring another race in and they'll make it 5 days and they'll ruin it. So that's just my opinion.
And George, we know, like I know when we used to speak with Daryl used to have one of these horses in the pipeline from the beginning of the season. But because we've only been speaking for probably the last, I want to say 6 months, might have been less or more of that. But how did you used to find the novice handicap chase? Was it one of the ones you used to look forward to?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably one of the harder ones to try and pinpoint what's actually going to get there, sort of top 3 or 4 come the day. But great race to have a look at, and like I say, bit crap that it's gone, to be honest. Especially the thing with this trials day as well. I don't see the point in having the novice handicap over the same distance as the open handicap. Like, surely make one a different distance. If you want one for novices, great, but just we saw with half the field was entered for both this week, and it's a bit of a joke, really.
Yeah, and it's taking the piss, really, and it's rubbing salt in the wound that the race isn't there because you've got novices running in an open company, like you say, and we could have just combined the two instead of having it as 2 divisions. Daryl, do you want to say anything, or are you still fed up about Fernie? Sorry,
yeah, I'm still a bit distraught about Fernie, but no, I totally agree. Look, the whole programme needs a bloody revamp, doesn't it? So this has just been forgotten about, this race, and been left behind, doesn't it? You know, they've taken the novice handicap out of the festival, and then they've forgotten to remove this, essentially, really. Look, that was one of the better races, I thought, better handicaps of the week. I thought it highlighted excellent trainer targeting, being able to get a horse in that sort of bracket that I needed to be getting into. for a handicap. Yeah, I thought it took a little bit away from the festival when they took that out and put the mares chasing. I thought it was silly, but you know what they're trying to do, though? They're obviously trying to boost the mares program, aren't they? For not just for the festival, but for the national hunt racing in general. So yeah, it's a disappointing. It's disappointing because it was always a very good betting heat as well, and I think sometimes they need to think of punters and their customers before they just snatch away these races and whatnot. But that's a whole different subject, Dave. Yeah, I agree. I should have said I agree.
Well, you're all right. But like Carl says, like, is there any point having it? No is definitely the answer in it. And is there anything you want to replace it with in terms of a trial? I don't think there is, because this year, we talked about this earlier, George, didn't we, that the go-in description, obviously we've got a new clerk of the course there, so although he's classed on it as good all over, it may actually be different. It might be what good Simon Clace might have classed as good to soft. But if you've got a trial this close to the festival and they're running on good ground, it's going to shy away lots of horses from running anyway in it. So there's nothing to replace with, Carl. Just less races, I would have thought. Second question that came in from the Cheltenham Exchange. Those boys are heaving it up at the minute on there. Good content. Which race has been most profitable for you from an anti-post perspective over the years? I should know the answer to this because I've got my bet loader, but I can't remember. I honestly can't. Because I scattergunned it quite a lot nearer the time. It got spread across. But I used, like, the Tuesday was always the most profitable. Then Wednesday was the second. Then Thursday, Friday, even though I had like roll-ups. Is there any particular race that's been kind to you, George, over the years?
Novice Chasers in general, probably. I always think they're the easiest ones from a long way out. Look at the last year's hurdlers, see what you can pick out.
Job done. Jamie, before you drink any more, anything that you like anti-post, a particular race that does you good?
Yeah, I'm actually gone black here. I can't see you at all.
You can't, but you can hear me, right?
You can't be that pissed already.
No, actually, the whole screen has gone black. Honest to God.
You're all right, mate. We can still, unfortunately, we can still see you. As long as you can hear us, you'll have to just suck it up for the next half an hour.
There.
Right.
I probably have to come back off. Hold on 1 second. No, the most profitable for me, the Ballymore. Love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's up to you, mate. You don't need to see our faces. You can stay on there if you want. If you want to leave and come back in, you can try. But
I leave and come back in, I'd say, because I can't see. I feel like a dope here. Like.
No, but we can see you.
It's most profitable for me ever. It was the Ballymore. Definitely, I love the race.
Nice.
Probably a bit crap this year, but look, we'll probably get the winner right.
Yeah, Daryl. Anti-post for you? Any particular race that does you a good turn?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, me? Yeah, exactly the same as George. Novice hurdles, novice chases. Simply because you look at things like, I mean, he's out now because he was in a fucking double with Fernie, but Sir Gerhard last year won the champion bumper. It was 25-1 for the Supreme. Now, I know he's not going to win the Supreme, but I'm just saying he's 25-1. We're 6 weeks out and he's 7-1. So it'd probably be shorter than that if Dusart Domino didn't hack up the other day. So there's loads of value in the novice chase, just following the form on from the season before. Novice chase is obviously looking at the hurdle division prior and whatnot. That's the way to go, I think. I mean, there's never any value really in a Gold Cup anti-post market, is there? You know, you sort of know what you're getting, you know, unless you're... Yeah, no, it's just novice chases, Dave. Novice chasing, novice hurdlers.
Nice. Hopefully, I think we're getting Jamie back in. I may have ballsed up the stream, but hopefully we'll get it back.
Sorry, no, I don't know what happened there.
I think we may have lost the Zoom stream on the live bit. Right, bear with me. Technical issues because Jamie Wren left and came back.
No, because I think when you hit something, the whole disc is just boom with me. I don't know what happened there, to be honest with you. I haven't absolutely, the whole screen just went blank for me.
Hang on a sec, because I think we've lost the Zoom meeting.
Sorry about that now.
You will be.
Remember now, I know where you live.
You do,
Yeah.
hang on.
It's not on YouTube, Dave.
Oh no, the picture's gone, isn't it?
That's what's happened, I'd say. The whole thing, like that on mine.
We're back. The whole thing hasn't gone. It was you because you bloody left and came back in. Right, we're back on. There was a pause. They would have heard us, though. They've heard the rigmarole. Right, Jamie, if it goes tits up for you again, then you're just out. We've had enough of you. Right, let's get on to the next couple of questions.
Your moral support.
No worries. Right, we'll get on to the next questions. I've just been flicking screens so everyone can see what the next slide is. Not that it matters. Right, no particular order. Please have Jamie on and make him drink 6 pints of Guinness beforehand. And also, any chance of getting subtitles if Jamie's on?
That wasn't me that wrote that either.
No, I mean, that's...
You sure, Darren?
Technically not quite. I should have put that question up while we're at the white space, shouldn't I? The last question that I'm actually going to be bothered to do: what horse or horses would you back for the festival prior to their runs on trials day? Who could shorten up beforehand, and who is potentially good value because of it? So, I touched on the fact that good ground. I don't think there's going to be too many massive pointers in here. Classical Dream obviously flopped. He would have been maybe an obvious one to say get stuck into a bit more a champ. I do think that there's one in the second race that I think maybe is like slightly overpriced, but probably wrong. I think the long and the short of it for me is I don't think there is anything that really jumps out as an anti-post one for me. There could be something that comes in the handicap that could be stable plate wise, but for me there's nothing. George, you're quite good with the future eyesight. Anything you think that's worth backing before they run Saturday?
So there's one stayers market, like you say. Classical Dreams flopped today, which obviously isn't ideal if you wanted to back a champ before he ran because his price has gone all, even more so than it already had. But on Sky Bet, if you can get on their anti-post stayers market, they're doing some different markets on there. So you scroll a bit further down to the bottom, they've got a sort of non-Irish trained market. So you can back champ at 6-4 to win sort of first British horse home. So basically you've got 6-4 in a match bet with Time Hill, which is ridiculous, I think, with noises that he's all but confirmed for the race.
That is filthy, isn't it? And I think as well he went, I haven't checked the price, but I'm pretty sure I saw tweets going out saying that Champ was instilled as the 15-8 favourite after Classical Dream had gone. That's monster. So we're saying 6-4 basically just to beat it, because essentially it is just to beat Time Hill, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
DC, are you trying to message some long lost auntie that can get you a Sky Bet account?
No, but that's impressed me, George. I like that. That's impressed me.
Right, so we've obviously got that one banked. You two guys, I'd imagine you're going to say no, but is there anything you reckon that's worth backing for the festival before it runs this weekend?
Nah.
Jamie?
I backed your man today in the bumper there, 20-1 there, Mercury, before you ran today, all right, just have a little bit cheeky, few quid in it. I'm sorry, George, I'm going to have to take you on there. A match bet with Time Hill. Did you ever forget about the Irish horse scoring porter that won it last year?
No, but that's it.
Yeah,
the bet's
no
only for the bet's only for champ to be the top British.
Top British, like, but I understand that, but like, it's not a match with Time Hill, like.
Well, yeah, but there's no.
Getting on to it. No, I'm only messing.
Yeah, the Florian Port's not British, is he?
I know what you mean, but like, it's not a match race at all by any means. But I know.
No, but
it is. Right, let's get on with the first race, I reckon. Happy with that?
Yeah, we're good.
And let's hope the stream's still going because I'm not recording it. And if it's not, then at least we'll have some fun. So, race one, there's been a power slide across the screen. Everyone's clapping at the TV because, A, the sound's probably buffering, but at least they saw a slide transition that I've chucked in. Florence Lister, I think this first handicap, this is a race that's worth going straight to you on this because, let's be honest, without even looking very deep into the card, there's one horse and one horse only that's going to win this. You've been a big fan of him all season. Who wins the 12-15, George? And can you make a little bit of a case for it as well?
Yeah, so like you say, when the entries came through, liked him, went through, did all the runners, liked him even more. So all of these, well, not all of these, the vast majority of these have run in some fairly average races. A lot of them have won their most recent or penultimate starts. And they're stepping up here to what's probably quite a lot deeper race. Most of them have been in small fields, been able to dominate them. So you've got the Widowmaker, Geronimo, and Lively Citizen, who have all had fairly easy times up front recently, who are all probably going to take each other on here. So they're going to find it much tougher to try and sort of snaffle an easy lead. You probably throw Hydroplay into the mix there as well. So there's going to be four of them sort of battling it out up front. It's probably going to set up for something that wants to come from a bit further back. And Cormier sticks out like a sore thumb to me. He ran in Greatwood last year, down the field, looked like a complete repeat for Nietzsche, who did the same thing a few years back. So after that, went to Swinton at Haydock, ridiculous run, sort of handled all the way up the home straight. Came second to Coppolis, so I think a third and fourth with Camprond and Roland Ward, who both sort of pissed up a couple of times since. He's down £3 from that run, and he came back in the Welsh Champion hurdle, never in it. Looked like a complete plot and prep for Greatwood. Never really got into it there, sort of clattered 3 out and got shuffled a bit too far back. And then you probably wanted to be a bit further forward in that race as well. So all went a bit wrong there. This race is absolutely nothing like the Great Wood. The open 14s with William Hill. I can see it's already 11s and a few more bookies across the board. And to be honest, I thought this was a great bet, anything 6-1 and above. So I'll be absolutely ploughing into 11s, 10s, 9s, 8s if I can go on.
Yes, I'm Team Cormier as well, mate. I mean, we'll go to the other guys as well to find out what they say. But yeah, we liked him for the Welsh Champion Hurdle. And to be fair, there wasn't really any excuses that day, I don't think. I think he was just fit. I know he was fourth today, but I think he was just beaten by possibly slightly better horses then. But I thought he was good enough off that mark and on quicker ground. And now, like you say, he's been reduced. The Greatwood things didn't quite go to plan, did they? Because you were sitting nice on the double from the Paddy Power going into that. And then there was the jockey change, wasn't there? Because McMenamin wasn't going to ride. But then you got Paddy Brennan who made it worse because you think if there's anyone you want to pick up a ride at Cheltenham, it's him. But maybe you don't want. You mentioned another horse in there, Hydroplane. Darryl Carter. It may not have been your 4-point in that, but you put up Hydroplane when it won at Sandown, didn't you? Big price, wasn't it?
Yeah, big price. Put him up at 16s, went off at 25s, what we like to see. Big drifter. Yeah, I like this race quite a lot. I have already tipped and backed Cormier as well for exactly the same reasons as George just said. I'll backed another one in it. So I'll back 2 in the race. And the other one I just want to bring to your attention is a horse called Severance for Ben Pauling. This horse has run over 2.5 miles the last twice. Just doesn't see out 2.5 miles. He's a horse that can be very keen and very free early on in the race. Does jump slightly to the left as well. But it just doesn't see out 2.5 miles. Now, if you go back and watch both of those runs, he travelled really sweetly to a point in both of those and then just faded and see out. Those were over 2 miles 5. Back to 2 miles today. There's lots of pace on in this race, and he is a horse that just sits out the back and he will just snooker through a field. He's off a mark of 122. He's rated 90 on the flat. The quick ground would be absolutely no issue at all to him. And he's got a lovely piece of Carlisle form, which was actually on heavy ground and a maiden, beating Bass Rock and Word Has It. Word Has It is rated 130, and Bass Rock is also rated 130. He runs here off 122. It's the first time, or the second time he's back down to into a 2 mile race, but the other one came in a listed event at Haydock on really deep ground behind Clandinabo Lad. I think this horse has got a definitely got a win on him for mark 122. If the race sets up right for him, I think he'll definitely be there or thereabouts. You're going to get 4 places, perhaps 3 or 4 places with some bookmakers on Cheltenham on Saturday because they're going to be doing some concessions. Just to touch on Cormier quickly, I thought in the Greatwood last time he made a big error. I don't know if it's 4 or 3 out, one of the two, but coming down the hill, he looked like he lost his action. And he just could never get his stride back going. And they just gave him an easy time and nursed him home. Like George said, he can drop £2 for that run. I think he's a decent horse. And this is nowhere near the Greatwood. I would absolutely be backing Cormier and Severance. I'm backing them both each way. I don't think this is a deep race, really. Hydroplane could have a bit more to come. But I feel like he wants a real stiff test at 2 miles. So that was the reason by putting him up at Sandown. Heavy ground, just turn it into a bit more of a slog. I don't know. He could go in again here off 124. He's only up £3. That's probably a little bit lenient. But no, I thought of the prices, Severance and Cormier.
Fair enough. Yeah, Severance is one of those, and he's very, very keen, isn't he? And you always just think, if he just managed to settle down a little bit. But I just struggle to think if he ever settles down. But you're right, you've got some cover anyway. You've got Cormier in there.
Over 2 miles 5, though.
Yeah.
I think he jumps well enough, Darryl.
Sorry?
Do you think he jumps well enough?
Yeah, I do think he jumps well enough at times. But when they ran him here behind Gowell Road at the November meeting, they hugged the inside rail because he jumped slightly to the left, so they hugged the inside rail. That's not always the place you want to be at Cheltenham on that inside rail. You sort of want to be coming fast and wide, really. But he's too well handicapped to ignore back down to 2 miles. A 90-rated horse running off 122. I'm pretty sure they went up to 2.5 miles to try and settle him down to get him to see out his race, but he just doesn't stay. So the market has judged him on his last 2 runs, which have come over 2 miles 5. They haven't judged him on his 2 mile run. He's definitely well handicapped, and he's done a decent time figure at Carlisle as well. So he's more than capable, that's for sure. Nice.
Jamie, what do you make of the race? You must be Team Cormier, aren't you?
Yeah, I like Cormier too, but I really like Severance as well because you have the form with Gowell Road. Sure, the race there was a Weatherby Gowell Road. Unexpected Park. He was second at 8 to 13. Sure, unexpected part. He's rated 142 now, and he was a good thing that day. Like Gow Road still has a chance in the Carl Cup. I know the last day was beat by Mete, but I think Gow Road needs good ground anyway. Mete needs a bog. We all know that now. So it's like Cormier. You take the words out of it all. Like Cormier has to be there, like all the way up the straight and Haydock on good ground. Stopped and did run, stopped around. Copperless, I suppose, was unlucky the entry the time before in the Camp On race. Would have probably won that anyway. But no, it's the two of them really. But I slightly prefer that Severance, because of the form with Unexpected Party and Gow Road. Beauty.
So basically, we've got the forecast there. The only one that was slight, like I do agree with Severance to an extent, but I just worry about his keenness. But I can always get these ones wrong. History Bear that won on Boxing Day. That was fresh off a wind-up. I thought that was just a run on Boxing Day. I didn't think he was going to win that day. I thought he maybe needed it. He did go and win, and I don't think the back form of the race really warrants the rise that he got. But if I trust the fact that I don't think they were like he was necessarily supposed to win, or they didn't expect him to run as well as he did, meaning that I think he'll step forward from it, I think History Bear's semi-interesting. So basically, you've got TriCast there. We've completed the TriCast in the first race. Congratulations, guys.
That race did fall apart from though, that he picked up.
Oh, yeah.
But far too hard up in front.
But that's what I mean. I think it's such a bad race that I just think that's like it was that bad that he won it. Like he didn't win it because he was he probably was the best horse in the race, but I don't think he was there to win that day. They had a claimer on board, all things like that, didn't they? Like I think it was just a run, and he was just the best of a very bad bunch that day. But I think he could progress from it if they were not expecting him to go so well. But yeah, I wouldn't use like the fact that he won that race as like a boost to his chance. More the fact that I think he's bound to improve from it. And then people, because he won the race, maybe think that was his limit. But anywho, that's the first race done. Anyone else want to add anything else in? All in Cormier. Oh, go up.
People are commenting. Should we read some of these? Fernie's a goner. Look on the bright side. We might get a larger field with more runners now the favourite is out of it. That's Damon. Scott Burgess. Oh, they're talking to each other. They're not talking to us.
Any more?
Third time lucky to make all the running in the Arkle now? Question mark.
Oh, who said that?
That comes from Todd Sparrow.
You're talking nonsense. Sorry.
Any more for any more?
Uh,
Is Wayne on yet?
No Wayne yet.
Right, we're going to go on to race 2 and then we'll come back to him. You can be the comment guy, Daryl. So race 2 is the Finesse Hurdle. This is one that, like, there has been some winners that have gone on to it, and there's been 3, I think. Deffy, another one, Peace and Co, and then another one even further back. What's his face? Catch It, Champion Hurdley one. So yeah, there's been, like, it's not an horrific trial. This year's renewal doesn't particularly look that great, apart from the fact that man like Pied Piper's come over. Jamie, I've got to ask you, because I imagine that's the one that you're going to be balls deep in. What do you think of the race? Who do you think is going to win it?
I'll go against them, Dave.
Ooh.
I'll go with the form today of Greystone, and the former winner of the Triumph Hurdle, the future winner who's not running in this world. That race of Warwick is shit hot now. Like, do you know what I mean? It is like. I know he got his own way the last day at Cheltenham, but look, the form is there. I don't like that ICO. I think he's absolutely no chance.
Agree.
I know, just like absolutely no chance. All I know, Mr. Carter, I'll explain my case. Rewired, right? Beating 17 lengths. Absolutely hammered in the Charter's fin, right? What's the other one? Restitution, is it? Got hammered by Dr. Parnassus, who couldn't win a race on the flat. And do you think Dr. Parnassus was the number 1 in the Skelters? No, he was not. Come on. I don't like Pied Piper Day because the fact of the matter, the last day, the race was over 15 and a half furlongs, right? Which is half a wide furlong short of 2 miles, right? And he was only 10 furlong horse in the flat. Now, he did win in heavy ground up a hill in Leicester, right? And find Pied Piper. But to me, if it was another furlong, Vauban would have beaten him. And now I like Vauban now from Triumph Hurdle because I think the extra furlong in the Triumph Hurdle to suit Vauban more than Pied Piper. I'd be worried about Pied Piper staying up the hill at Cheltenham. That's just me in the new track. I know they're over there to have a see if he does stay. So I will say my selection will be in terms of Sabol, yeah, because I think ICO has absolutely no chance. And it's between Pied Piper and Turn to Silver. In Turn to Silver for me.
Nice. Right, so
strictly on form.
Beautiful. Well, so before I move on to anybody else, when I touched on the fact that there could be something anti-posty to get stuck into, in terms of Savola, like it is like probably a little bit jesty, but I think he's like 25s for the Triumph. Now, probably the Irish have got the upper hand, and you got the likes of Fildor, things like that. But for any of you that were semi-tempted to look at one, like I fancy Intended Savola in the race. Well, I think he's like the obviously bet, because I suspect that Pied Piper's going to be here to flop. And even if he does intentionally flop or he just flops by accident, be the Boodle's horse. They've got Fildor, haven't they? But I think if he does flop, people will just say, oh, it's a plot. But he may flop for the reasons that Jamie said. Yeah, so I would say that Intended Savola could be one to bat for the Triumph before he runs in this. I mean, if you back him with cash, you could always get your way out. Daryl, you must love Isio then.
No, I don't love Isio. It's just the way, like, a juvenile was run twice and he's been quite impressive. And Jamie's he's got no chance. Why does Davy Russell come over?
It's the other side of it too, yeah.
Nothing better.
That's the other side of it too, yeah. Why is Davy Russell coming over for one ride? Like, because they had Tory Graf, didn't they? Have Tory Graf entered in the Novice Handicap and he's not coming over, like, so you think they were both going to come over together, like, do you know what I mean? But no, he's coming over on his own.
What do you make of it then, Daryl?
Isn't he?
Well, he could be, couldn't he?
He's looking for a mark.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's the same crowd as Fildor, isn't it? Same crowd. Caulfield Construction, right? And I think Fildor has no chance. The worst mistake they're going to do with Fildor, if they don't run him next week at Leopardstown, he's absolutely no chance in the Triumph Hurling. That's been proven.
Maybe. But I would just, races like this, right? I would just, first off, I would question the fact that Davy Russell's actually come over on Pied Piper. I would also suggest that Pied Piper and Vauban have probably got the strongest piece of form in the book. I thought that race was really good. And then Gordon Elliott's comments after Pied Piper won and beat Vauban was that we didn't expect him to do that. He's going to come on an absolute ton for that run. So these are just the sort of races where there's too many question marks. And then you've got the fact that yes, we know the connections have got the Triumph favourite. There was talk about the Boodles. If you're playing this at 5-4, you even know that he's here and he's trying and they're doing everything, and you've got an in that way. But if you haven't got an in that way, there is no way you should be playing this race at 5-4, even if he bolts up by 10 lengths, because you just don't know how they're going to play it. Now, I can't imagine, though, they would come all the way over here for this, unless it's Cheltenham experience. But I don't know. These sort of races drive me insane, because I just want it to be straight down the line, really, and then let's find out the best horse that wins. But it's not that way. Just to touch on ICO, Paul Nichols has had a couple beating this. If he gets beaten this, I don't think you'll see him at the festival. He's had a couple beaten and put him away for the festival before. I did think in terms of Savola, I thought that he stole the race on the front end last time. He set very slow fractions. The form of that has worked out quite well, but the form of that has worked out well with the horses that have come from the rear of the field. So I just thought that was quite interesting. Although he did look like quite a nice type. So he might just be better than that. But I do think that he is priced up on the back of that win with that form working out. And he did sort of steal the lead steal the race from the front. I've got no strong opinion in this. I thought the Gary Moore horse probably will want soft ground going forward. It's probably between the top three in the market. I can't see why the market has got this wrong. So there'll be absolutely no play in it. But I just think if you're really bullish on Gordon Elliott's Pied Piper for this, I just think you want to tone it back a little bit, just in case.
Yeah, I agree. And then price-wise for the Triumph, well, I haven't checked what he is, but I know Vauban, they were about this, when we did our New Year's-y thing, he was a bit shorter than Vauban. I think he might have been 16s and Vauban was 20s or 25s. I think they make, Vauban's a lot shorter now.
About 10 to 1 general.
Whereas I think Pied Piper's still a bit of a price, so that's the sort of thing.
Pied Piper's 12s would bet fair.
Yeah. The only thing I will say, if Pied Piper's running here, Fildor probably will run next week.
Yeah, which is what we want to see, don't we?
See what you want to see, but I think Iker Allen and Vauban are the two for that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we feel like, I'm putting words in Daryl's mouth here, but I think Intended Savola sounds like it's the right play. George, what do you make of the race? Because you're quite good at these juveniles where they've only had half a run, yeah?
Not sure about that, but I think Daryl summed up well. Looks like top three of the three to focus on. You've got dead A, 3 places, so you're getting 5-6 to 1 about Intended Savola, who's got the form working out of Warwick. He was hardly given a ride that day either. I didn't think. He was sort of happy to scoot around got the course experience from last time. You'd be gutted if he's out the first three, so 5-6 to 1 is a bit of a scummy bet. Take that each way on the day if you can get it. And another thing with Pied Piper, I thought as well, both his wins on the flat were on sort of deep, heavy ground. It was officially that in Ireland on his hurdles run as well. And I know sort of flat heavy is probably not the same as jumps heavy, but the ground's going to be quick this weekend, or quick enough at least. So it's probably something to bear in mind. Again, you don't really know whether it's actually sort of running on merit, and then you've got the ground to worry about. And on ICO, heard Andy Holding earlier saying he's put up the best juvenile time figure that he's recorded so far this year, just for interest for anyone. Can't say I do anything with times myself, but I know some of you probably will do.
I know Paul Nichols was interviewed. I saw that on Racing TV. They were talking about the horse, and then they said, would he be one of your better juveniles in the yard? And then he half said, well, not all of my juveniles have run yet. But then he basically said, yeah, you'd say that he was. So it almost feels like Paul Nichols is quite happy to say that about most of his horses, isn't he? That he's the best he's got in his yard, just to not upset owners. So I don't know. It looks like it could be a fairly good race, though, to be fair. And if one of them, as much as we say that, though, I would say that they're probably, none of them should be good enough to win the Triumph unless something goes and bolts up, because I do think they're probably like 130s markers at best. But that's enough for talking about the kids, I think. Absolute pedos. Moving on to... So, what? Go back.
Yeah, just to say that Pied Piper has got a real high knee action. So the ground could be a factor for him. I just want to pick up some of these comments, Dave.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Go.
Daryl, few quid on champ, question mark. I have more than a few quid on him, Harvey. More than a few quid. So.
More than a few quid.
Yeah. Stephen C. McFabulous in the stayers, 33 to 1. Get on, lads.
No chance.
No thanks.
No chance. Damien, what's Jamie think about Classical Dream? Had too hard of a race previously. Patrick Mullins said, can't have Classical Dream on that showing now.
Stole 8 lengths at the start against Flooring Porter. If Flooring Porter didn't stab the 8 lengths, if Flooring Porter would have won the race, we wouldn't even be talking about Classical Dream. Doesn't matter, champ's going to win, move on. Yeah,
just to touch on Classical Dream quickly, why on earth did they run him today?
I agree with you, with a grade 1 penalty. And he had to give an 11 penalty to Bright Cat. Now, you probably look at it now and say to yourself, even off maybe £5 less Bright Cat, because she's a mare anyway, would have beaten it anyway. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know why they ran it. It looked a very strange run to me. You can't trust him though either. You just can't trust him.
I don't know whether they were like Willie said, like maybe you can't go to Cheltenham off the back of that performance, but then Patrick obviously said he wouldn't be too disappointed. So I wonder whether that it was like a fitnessy thing with him, because obviously injury and had time off, and maybe they just thought, let's just piece of work. If he gets beat, he gets beat, because they didn't see
that Stairs Herd is going to be an awful pace class, because they're going to go absolutely nuts to two of them, Flooring Porter and Classical Dream in it. That's just my feeling. Might not happen.
I thought that before today, Jamie. I thought it was interesting. Classical Dream lined up. I know he ended up at the front, but he didn't line up there. He lined up behind one, and I thought
he didn't bowl straightforward. I agree with you there. I saw that.
Settling behind Flooring Porter, maybe.
And that's what
I didn't like it. I didn't. No. For me, he's sulked. No. To be honest with you, yeah.
Well, I think that's what it was today. It was a case of
learning brief.
You can drop him in.
Yep, I think so.
Maybe.
Okay, next one is. I'm only seeing Champ to win Saturday and to place in the stayers at evens.
That's not a bad bet.
Is that?
Have a look.
George is all over that. George, anything that's special, George is like, yep, got that in my head.
Is that on there, Georgie?
I'll have a look now, 1 minute.
Yeah, get on that.
Your eyes lit up a bit there, because George wants a P if it's available, didn't you?
So did I. Question for all you gents from Damien. Dave, Daryl, Jamie, etc. You're etc.
Ouch.
Do we now think Constitution Hill, John Bond, Sir Gerhard, and Dysart Dynamo are all going for the Supreme as it looks?
No.
I think Sir Gerhard will go Ballymore, but other than that, the other three will go there.
I actually think now Gerhard will go Supreme and Dysart will go to Ballymore. It's weird.
No,
I change my mind every 5 minutes.
You've got Dysart Dynamo on an anti-post docket for the Ballymore. That's the only reason you're saying that. There is no reason why he should run in the Ballymore.
25 to 1.
Rip it up. It's worth nothing.
There is no chance on this earth that Dysart Dynamo goes for the Ballymore.
Exactly.
No, man.
Right, while George looks up the even money bit, I say we go on to race 3 and then we'll come back to some more questions. Good work for doing that, Dazzler. The race that should be no more, the Novices Handicap Chase. It's the race that's infuriated leading horse race owner Carl Hinchy. Thanks for your support, Carl. It looks. I spoke to George a little bit earlier, and from from a tissue price perspective, well, not even that. The first show that was up, it's actually quite a nice little race to look at. I mean, they were betting massively over round, but it was sort of 9-2 the field with 13-2 the biggest prize. We said that there's probably at those prices you could get away with backing a couple maybe, and then I think with like market variance, something will be supported and shorten up, which means something will move out, and then when it gets close to the time, the one that's shortened should drift, and the one that's been backed should come back in. So I think there's opportunities in here. But as I went down the field, I'm pretty sure I've got this nailed. But what I've got more nailed is the fact that Jamie Wren will really fancy a horse in this race. So you're going to go last, Jamie. I'm going to make you sweat and wait. Darren, I'm going
to back that, so I know you know.
Exactly, it's pointless. Even the viewers know you're going to back. So, Darren, I'm going to come to you first on this one. I think it looks like the prices have got it, like a fairly competitive race, but I think there's only one or two that can win this. What do you have the look of it?
Yeah, I think there's only one or two that can win this.
Go on.
I really quite like When You're Ready for Jojo O'Neill. If you go back and watch that run at Chepstow last time. He hit about 3 or 4 fences and he still stuck to the task really, really well. Steamed home and was only just touched off by Golden Whiskey. He's had the cheek piece on the last twice. He bolted up at Chepstow the time before. I think he wants a bit better ground over fences. And he's so unexposed. He's got loads more to come. Over hurdles, he had ran some really good time figures. And he's improving with every single run over fences. He's off a mark of 130, the same mark as he was at Chepstow day after Boxing Day, and I think he's going to take a good bit of beating there. I didn't really think that Oscar Elite had too much more to come, in all honesty. I like Imperial Alcazar, but for me, he's just sort of plateauing out at the moment. Solo is obviously the interesting one in a handicap of 139. I just need to see a little bit more from him. I know he was in Grade 2 company last time. He's back in a handicap today, but nothing I see makes me think that he's very well handicapped horse. Your darling folded up like an old deck chair when third last time at Kempton. So I would struggle with that one. Java Point's an interesting horse, but I thought he was really all out at Ludlow. In all honesty, I thought he was flat out, and I think this is a slightly better race than that. Couldn't have Go a Little and Bigstown. If anyone mentions that, my God.
Savagery. Well, I do appreciate your input on the show, Daryl, but I might see if I can kick you out the Zoom for your absolute slanderous of one of the horses in there. George.
You hold on.
Sorry.
You have been sorry, George. You have been a fan, David. This Bigstown for far too long.
Oh no, it's not even Bigstown.
Darryl, do you know what he has to do? He has to go back in old recordings and put that right in the middle of it and say, "Yeah, that's what you said in Bigstown." Yeah, go away, Dave.
No, it's not even Beakstown. I was tempted to do this, but I'm pretty sure I'd have pissed a few people off. But do you remember the bald nonce where he's got his little moment? I can't breathe. I need air. I was going to use that clip for a clip of Beakstown in his stable before he's racing because he can't breathe, can he? He gets to the last couple of flights and stops. George. We have spoken, so I know you're going to make a nice little mention of my one. Daryl hasn't mentioned it. Jamie's not going to mention it. He's only going to mention one horse and mention it over and over again. What did you make of the race? How did you see it faring out?
Yeah, I'd agree on most part with what Daryl said. There's a few sort of big changes how I've read it, but Beakstown, like you say, can't breathe. P-Heart, same as Oscar Elite, just doesn't fancy it when it matters. Imperial Alcazar, this trip on the faster ground is going to find it all happening a bit too quickly, I think. Solo's probably just been a bit disappointing since his Adonis win, but his mark is coming down a bit. But even his last few runs over fences, they've been in weak enough races, I think, that he should have been getting a bit closer and the form's not really worked out. The two that I was most interested in, well, firstly, depending what happens with Solo, and I don't think he's going to go to the lead because it's Cobden on rather than Bryony Frost, and he's a bit more versatile tactics-wise, isn't he? So I think Go a Little might get a freebie up front. And the way he came around the corner against Baronet Sandown, he absolutely tanked into the race. He needs good ground. It was heavy there. Tanked into the race, blew it late on. Last time, dropped back 2 miles, went all right from the front. Got a little bit outpaced, but was staying on again when Amarillo Sky came down the second last, I think. And I'm firmly of the opinion Amarillo Sky's much better than his mark, but he's not really showing it at the minute. So that was a decent enough run, beat the rest of the field by a long way, and he's sort of only gone a few pounds in the handicap for that. Decent ground again here. If he gets an easy lead, he might be hard to reel in. And the interesting thing with Go a Little is he used to be one of those Maneira and Sway horses, and they've sort of highly tried him ever since he was a 4-year-old and 5-year-old over fences. They've moved him on, but Nigel Twiston-Davies has bought him himself and kept him in the yard, so he obviously thinks there's a lot more to come there. And he's on a lower mark than he was when he was with them, so he might be a bit of a one to keep an eye on if he doesn't do it this time. And the other one was actually Your Darling as well. Thought his run a couple of times back at Aintree was probably a bit too far back. Maybe the ground was a bit too soft for him. Absolutely pissed up at Huntingdon on decent ground. Sort of tanked into the race there at Aintree, but didn't quite see it out. The next time at Kempton, like you said, Darryl, he did weaken late on, but I'm convinced those first three went at it far too hard, and he was absolutely cruising at the last. And you see what Danny Kerwin bolted up yesterday at Wincanton. I mean, he had Danny Kerwin on toast that day, so if he gets anywhere near that, he's going to be cruising into it. If you back him, you've got to put some low lays in on Betfair, because he could easily do the same and not get up the hill. But he'll be cruising around at some point on the better ground, and I'll be a bit disappointed if he's not at least there swinging coming up to the last.
Very interesting. So before I go on to you, Jamie, because yours is just going to be a 2-word answer of who wins the race, it is like Go a Lil, the one that you poo-pooed a little bit, Darryl. Go a Lil's the one that I like, and pretty much for the same, like George has said it all. Like the penultimate run on the slower ground wouldn't have suited, run on the last day was pretty good. And they've I don't think the horse is as versatile as the jockey makes him out to be, because they do try different tactics on him, but I do think there's not a massive amount of pace in the race, and I do think that if Go a Lil goes off in front, gets an easy time of it, it like easily could go and win this. So I quite like Go a Lil. The only one that I thought potentially, like Solo, we know with Nichols, he's a slow burner with lots of his horses. Solo will definitely be better than his mark that he's currently on now. It's whether he's going to start winning now or not. I just don't know with him, but I do still quite like him. But his only ever win was in that Adonis, wasn't it? That looked like it was quite good at the time, but now doesn't look so good either. So yeah, I'd be not strong on Go a Lil, because I don't think you can really trust the horse. But for a selection in the race, like I think it's Go a Lil and Solo be the only one that I'd be worried about. Jamie, go on then. Mention the deck chair. Get him out.
Oh, you're darling with this, yeah. No, going through the race, Dave, I honestly thought today when I was looking at it, would be Oscar Leap with the form of Fantastic As and Glancing Queen. It looked Lampress has a chance in the turner, there's no question of that. I don't know, he's a bit soft as well, and your darling's probably a bit soft as well. I suppose the way I look at it going back to the November meeting, would Oscar Lee would have beaten 300 through 5, like, you know, that day, like, looked like he did, looked like he was going to beat him. Do you know what I mean? Come down when he fell at third last. I agree with that, and the job is done, is it? He hit loads of chips the last day, and still nearly got up to be Golden Whiskey. So if he jumps, he has the right chance. But I agree with George says that I think you're turning the tank into the race, and the problem is it has enough cash out or trade out, lay him if he doesn't go up the hill, all the way up the hill, do you know what I mean? But it's your darling for me, right?
Nice. One other thing that I'm going to mention about Go a Lil is sort of, it's not even reverse engineering, but reverse engineering sounds cool, doesn't it? The horse probably isn't going to run in the race, but Fairnet, the horse that we've got, the line of form that's going in with Go a Lil, would have been favourite for the next race that's coming up. And obviously, we know how these things work out. If that one had won beforehand, all of a sudden people would jump on the Go a Lil angle. Fairnet's probably not going to run. I'm not saying he would have necessarily won that race, but I do think that, you know, like I said, the backward side of it, I think Go a Lil is got a chance. So we're in for selections. Darryl, did you actually say who your selection was? When you're ready, wasn't it? Have you muted yourself?
Yeah. It absolutely pisses up when you're ready.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay, seeing as you're getting that bullish, we'll move on. Should we move on to race 4? You go back? No, we'll do race 4 before we go back to questions, because I'm sick of the public. They just do my Sweden. The 155, so the proper handicap chase, that in technically, if we had our way, all of those novices would be running in this race. There are a couple of novices that are in here. I'm going to go first on this one, just because my show, do what I want. Of the, like, I think Magic Saint's got a proper chance, and I do him in like race card order. I think Magic Saint definitely has got a chance. That's it. Just said, like, the ground will suit. I think he's okay at the trip. He's won off a 147 before a couple of times, even though he's a little bit lower than that with the claimer on. Like, I think he's got a chance, but he is well found in the market, so he's priced accordingly, I think. Eden DeHoo, which is almost like a swear word when you mention the horse out loud. I do think there's some encouraging enough, like, very loose lines through other horses. One True King did run at the Lingfield Millions meeting on Sunday and didn't really add to my theory. But was beaten by that Brave Siaska, the one that everyone thinks can win the Grand Annual, and I think like dodgily lines through that means that Eden to off of 130 probably has a few pounds to play with, but I don't know whether he's that genuine. And again, like the way that I factor him in, he's about a 10 to 1 poke. I think he's probably priced accordingly, so there wouldn't be any juice in him. Torn and Frayed's one that I was surprised open 14s. I think he's already been nipped with Bet 365. Like, he's another one that can be ridden both ways. Like, they've held him up and they've gone from the front with him. But it's another race that I don't think there's tons and tons of pace off the front. Like maybe Cool Cody, as we discussed earlier, me and George. I feel like Cool Cody could go off and try and pinch a lead. Torn and Frayed might be the only one that wants to go with him. And then I can just see 5 or 6 lengths opening up to the back of the pack. And then Torn and Frayed might be the type of horse that has got a little bit more to offer, so could end up winning it. So I just thought at the prices, I'd give him a chance. I'd make him a single figure priced horse, and that may be the case on the day. But when you actually look at his form, is there really any substance to any of it? Probably not. I think the run behind Mo Drogo looks okay enough for me to give him a chance. So if it was going down to a selection, I'd say that Magic Saint probably should and probably will win, but Torn and Frayed at the prices I think is worth a nibble. George, I'm going to swing it on back to you because you're the nearest to me. How do you see this one?
Depends a bit what Benish Williams does with this Baronet, I think so. He was entered in the sort of equivalent race in November, wasn't he? Got pulled out on account of the ground, ran him in December in, again, the equivalent race. Complete no-show there. They said it was for fitness, but all his best form's on sort of soft and heavy at Sandown. So I'll be amazed if he runs, to be honest. And if he doesn't run, like you say, I think Cool Cody, whilst he's by no means the best handicapped in the race, he could get a bit of a freebie out in front. And this is much weaker than those last few races that he's been running in here when he sort of beat a Midnight Shadow and a few like that. And then when he fell at the second last, when he was looking like he was at least going to be in the top 2 again. So Cool Cody's got to be a great sort of back to late at least, or a decent bet if Baronet comes out. And there was one that I was quite keen on earlier in the week, but with the complete lack of pace, I'm sort of tempering a bit on that. And that was Spirit of the Game. So his form in sort of these races over course and distance, or the equivalent ones on the old course, goes third, pulled up, second, 6th, second, and 9th. Which, when you consider they're all like 16, 18, 20 runner handicaps, that's pretty good going, I would say. And most of those runs are off marks above 145 as well. And they sort of, I think they basically realised that when he was off 147 in those sorts of races, he might run well, but he didn't really have much chance of winning, and he was always going to bump into one. So they tried to go for a bit of a attempt plot last year and get him over 3 miles over hurdles, and he's better over fences. He doesn't really say 3 miles in my book. So that was almost a wasted season. And then this year he's come back. He ran a decent race in 9th, which is the last one of those form figures in the November race again, was just sort of creeping into it. Couldn't really get into the race from too far back when it was Cool Cody and Midnight Shadow absolutely dominated. That was much deeper renewal than this. And he's sort of come down a fair bit in the weights again since, after a stumble in the rehearsal and couldn't get into it after that. And a ridiculous ride in one of the 3 mile handicap hurdles here last time, where he was gunned from the front, and it's just not how he rides on the worst of the ground. But they've got another few pounds off his mark. So he's on a great mark. It's course and distance that he loves, but I'm just a bit concerned that the race isn't going to set up for him. But I've already had the bet, so we'll just have to suck it and see.
Nice. So he was, I think it was this actual race a couple of years ago where he was half a length beaten by Sepage or Seepage, however people want to say it. That was about a stone high, wasn't it? Do you know what? The thing when you said that, all that's making me think in my head is, especially tactically if it could go wrong here, stable plate, innit?
This is so much weaker than that sort of race. And this is so much weaker than all the races he's been in. Like, if he's going to win one, he wants to be winning this, I would have thought. He's a big enough price, still about 12s, isn't he? Something like that?
He's
12 at the minute, yeah.
This is $100,000 handicap. If they're
it's so weak for that, isn't it?
Yeah, if it's $100,000 handicap, if they're going to win a handicap, they're going to want to win this one, surely.
I'll tell you what, Dave, back on the possible ones to back before this weekend, there's one in here. I mean, he's sort of solid without being spectacular, but Galahad Quest in here, I think he's 50s for the ultimate, 40s and 33s for the plate. And he's been running over course and distance all year, getting experience into him. And Nick Williams has done the same with Kustar Sivler before that won the ultimate. And then I think Cyril Delac went on to win the plate, and they both ran in this race. I think Cyril Delac won it. I think Kustar was second, but I'm open to correction on that. But basically, you're both using it as a prep for the festival. his run at Wetherby at the start of the year just screamed that they didn't want to win and they're minding his mark. I mean, mark of 132 is probably going to be on the cusp of the Ultima, and he's probably not going to get in the place from that. So they might be wanting to win here, but that's one that I could see the case with the sort of trainer trends for what they've targeted in the past for backing beforehand for a little bit and then have a bit more on afterwards if he runs well.
Yes, the plot thickens. So like a second or a third for him. It's like when they did it, was it Imperial Aura a few years back, where they just got it beat in the qualifying thing because they just wanted to not ruin his mark and killed us. Darryl, what do you make of the race? We've come up with some actual little peaches there through George, I think.
Yeah, I think Galahad Quest is crying out for 3 miles. I think he has been for a little while. When it comes to big handicap races like this that are worth this amount of money, they don't come round too often. And I find it hard to think that a horse is going to be in here not going to run to his merit in a 56 grand to the winner handicap. You know, they're not going to. What's the ultimate worth, and what's the plate worth? Let me have a quick look.
George will find that out. You go on with the race, mate. You go on.
All right. Fahrenheit couldn't have him. I mean, all his best form is at Sandown, of course, and he's unlikely to run, isn't he, if it's going to be quick enough ground. Galahad Quest, to me, he needs something to change for him to improve. And going up to 3 miles could well be it, because he keeps getting outpaced. He would be interested in going for the Ultima. Magic Saint is obviously well handicapped. Everybody can see that. Tom Buckley takes off £5 effectively off 142, was second in this race, or second over course and distance in April, off 157. I'm just not entirely convinced he gets up the hill over 2.5 miles. And he's sort of one of those horses that look a little bit tripless at times. Sort of wants 2-2, if anything, you know what I mean? And I couldn't really have him. I could see the scenario where Cool Cody goes out in front and he just keeps going, even off of this mark of 147, because he just could prove very hard to catch. The one I came down on was actually Tall and Frayed. Yeah, he was. I thought his handicap mark was workable. His run last time at Haydock, I don't know what Sam Twiston-Davies was thinking, because everyone else the whole day went wide at Haydock, and he tracked the inside route throughout the whole of the race, and he just brought him to a stop. I think there was a horse in behind him at the time, about 6 lengths adrift. There was a horse called, it was Farrant's Way, actually. He was about 6 lengths adrift of him. They came round to the third last. And where Sam had gone on the inside track, Tall and Frayed was just coming to a stop, and Farrant's Way just cantered past him like he was stood still, because he pretty much was stood still. Farrant's Way ended up pulling up, but he pulled up as well. So I don't think he was as bad as that run suggests. And prior to that, he was a good second to my Drogo. I don't think there's any getting away from it, the fact that he was a better horse than JPY on the day, who's rated around 136. I know he's disappointed since. But his previous run at Ascot, 2-runner race to Fave Wild, wouldn't have really suited him as a tactical affair. But prior to that, behind Annual Invictus, I thought that was a good run. I thought it was a really good run, and I thought he was really powering up the hill that day. I think over fences, he's a horse that wants good ground. Over hurdles, he handled heavy ground, but it's very easy over hurdles to pop out of it off heavy ground. When you're trying to ask a horse to get out of the ground on heavy ground over fences, some horses can want different conditions to help them jump better. I think this lad's a bit similar. He's only an 8-year-old. He's off mark of 131. I think he'll be ridden prominently. There's a lot of hold-up horses in this field. I hope he can do the business. I thought She's a Supermac was interesting at a big price, dropping back in trip today. Not entirely sure that's going to suit. She improved a little bit for going up to 3 miles. Probably wants softer ground, but she's coming in good form. She won really cosily last time. Where was it? At Kelso, was it? Or is it Ayr? Yeah. But I thought Tall and Frayed was one of the more interesting runners.
Yes, good work, Darryl. On the one that you just mentioned, the girl one, she didn't even make it into my list of write-ups. There was literally one horse of the whole day that I haven't written notes on. It was her. Sorry about that, Connections, because I'm sure they're watching as we are. George, hit us with the prize money stats.
So you got 56 grand to win it for these, and just over 60 for the Ultima and the plate. So you may as well just win this.
Exactly, yeah.
Oi, oi. So we've basically given multiple tips in this race. Right, Jamie, with a silent D in front of your name. Jamie, what do you see in the race? How do you fancy it? Or I've reworded that.
It has to be Tall and Frayed, with the Danny Kirwan form there and Invictus form. They both won since, obviously. I'm a complete fan club over the top, over the hill horse of 9 of Galahad Quest. I think he'll win the Ultimate. He has a chance in the Ultimate. He needs 3 miles. I think he'll get outpaced in this because Cool Cody's in the race. Now, if there's Cool Cody goes way too fast. Same with the Novice Handicap race at Kempton. Jackamar has to come into the reckoning as well on the line with Danny Kerman, your darling in the previous race. You know what I mean?
Do you think this course will suit him, though? Do you think
that's the only thing. That's the thing in the back of my head. Will the course suit him? Is that's the problem with Darren? I have put him as a selection, but it's torn up straight. I don't think I agree with Darren. I think Magic Saint is a 2-mile 2-2 horse. Do you know what I mean? That's about it. If he gets to, he won't get there. I know he's off 147. Man takes £5 off Tom Buckley. I don't think he stays 2.5 miles. That's just my opinion. Farnay is probably a Sandown right-hand track specialist. Might know he might rock up this time. He was backed into favourite the day of the Paddy Power Gold Cup. But no, it's torn and trade for me. 10-1 is massive.
Yeah, he's a big price when he had 14s when he was open before. But I think I'd have him as like a single figures one. So it sounds like with Darryl tipping him up as well, he's going to go off shortish. One just for like roundabout before we move on to the next race, because again when we talked a little bit earlier, George, you said with Watmore goes well fresh.
Yeah, he does go well fresh, but you made the point. This isn't an intended fresh, is it? He's been off since November last year, so it's not like he's starting the season, and this is where he's decided to start it. So
just wanted to mention him in case he dots up fresh.
I mean, I think it was 12-1 when I looked earlier, or looked before. He's 8-1 now. It's like there's not really much juice in that, I don't think.
But the money
tipped him up today.
Who?
Andrew Mount has tipped him up today.
What today? Watmore?
Watmore, yeah. I just think whether a horse goes well fresh or not, I think 400 days is
mental.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, fair play. It'll be a huge training performance. But I just wanted to mention, because then we can crop it after and say, we mentioned Watmore with a case about your darling. Darryl, are there any more questions from the crowd?
Questions from the crowd. If Henderson's 2 are both going for the Supreme, Dysart is now. That only leaves Sir Gerhard, who might jump ship to the Ballymore. Yeah, I think we touched on that.
If there's any more questions about the Supreme, we're not doing them.
Galahad Quest off a cliff. I think that's aimed at you, Jamo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now to do with this week's racing, but mulling between Jerry Colomb or Eric Bloodaxe for the Albert Bartlett.
We know what Darryl's team is.
Either. I hope so, AJB, because I have backed Eric Bloodaxe.
You fancy him a lot as well, didn't you? Proper bum that horse.
Him, yeah. I just think he just got Albert Bartlett written all over him. I think he's got a bit of pace about him. I think he stays forever. I think he's not flashy.
Beat
Fernie Hollow. I think he's got the form in the book.
And I've got his silks on.
I just think he's still very green as well at times. So I still
calm down, Ryan Airhead.
What was that?
Calm down, Ryan Airhead. Your man with fucking Ryanair colours.
Got my Gigginstown silks, don't I? They asked me to ride for him, didn't they? And then they realised that.
Yeah. You poster buy for 15-euro flights, is it?
Anyone want to touch on Jerry Colomb or Eric?
Jerry Colomb has a chance, stays all day, but I actually fancy another one of the Elliott horses. I think, Elliott has Jerry Colomb, Ginto, and one I fancy Hollow Games. So you just don't know how he's going to split them up. Do you know? I think Ginto will go Ballymore now. Anyway.
Grand Jury will win
the. Really green last time, didn't he as well?
I
know the Jerry Colomb. I know the track probably didn't suit him.
Yeah, would track wouldn't suit. No, I think he's you might think I'm just a bit far field. Like Jerry Colomb's a future Gold Cup horse, in my opinion.
Oh, come on, Darryl. We got 3 or 4 more races to get through, and he's saying stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
We're on to the Cotswold Chase now. We're on to the Cotswold Chase. This one, hopefully, shouldn't take too long. I'm going to do this in the order that I think will be best to do it for the reveal of the winner of the race. So I'm going to kick off with you, Jamie. Who wins the Cotswold Chase?
Century House, if he jumps. That's about it. Move on.
Darryl?
I have chucked a few quid at Porto Rico at a big price.
Oh, okay, we can edit that out. Oh, no, we can't. It's live. You said it, now it's out there.
I am. I've thrown him. I think he's a massive price at 66-1. Look, Chantry House was very poor in the King George. Now, I know it was the King George, and it might have been the track at Kempton that didn't suit him, But so many times have I seen horses go to that King George and disappoint and then not bounce back. I don't know what it is about that race or about perhaps Kempton, and they've reached for the cheek pieces, which suggests to me that it wasn't just the track that was the issue. I know he's a Grade 1 winner, a Marsh Grade 1 winner, and this race probably does revolve around whether or not he bounces back or not. But I just worry that he's not the most natural chaser that I've ever seen in my life. He jumps a fence and it's almost like he lands on all fours. So it's probably a credit to him that he's achieved what he's achieved. Now, if he bounces back, going back to Cheltenham, of course he's going to win this and he's going to take some beating. But that's an if, and you should never be scared of one horse, should you? And plus, backing a horse at 66 to 1 each way for 2 places in a 5-runner race, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Simply the Best has stamina to prove. Now, everyone will tell you that, he's a fast finishing in the plate and this, that and the other. But if you go and actually watch his finish up the hill in the plate, his stride really starts to shorten. So I'm just not convinced that he really wants 3 miles, 1.5 furlongs. It's a huge step up in trip from 2.5. They tried it at Aintree on soft ground, and he's been fine on soft ground for God knows how long. Now, it might have been a bit of a bounce back to having a year off the track, but he just was out on his feet, he was blowing. Like, I don't know if this... I mean, if you're going to try 3 miles with him, it's got to be at Cheltenham, if you're going to try it again. So that is the right track for him. I'm just not overly convinced. Right is a nice horse, right? And he does stay. But every time he's been to Cheltenham, he's walked through at least 2 or 3 fences. And he's not going to be able to afford to do that today. And Santini, for me, is not the horse he once was. He's really not. So I'm getting a big prize for this horse to place in the first 2.
Unlucky.
I've just taken a chance on Puerto Rico, and I will give you a reason why. He's had very few opportunities. He's 11-year-old, but he's had very few opportunities over 3 miles. He has been crying out to go up in trip. Now, they did it at Doncaster on his penultimate start, and he should have beaten 2 for Gold that day, but he hung left in behind 2 for Gold. Now, that is obviously a slope worry. But he stayed on strongly right to the line, ran right through the line. Beat half length, 2 for Gold, went out and beat Dashwood Drasher the other day at Lingfield. He's got a good record fresh, but he's got an even better record when Brian Hughes is on him. So I did write this down earlier for other purposes. So Brian Hughes' form figures when he's on Puerto Rico: 2, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. Right? And in fields of 9 or less runners, he's got a fantastic record. And I think he's scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in fields of 9 or less runners. So he wants a small field. He wants 3.5 miles. He won't mind the ground being quick at all. Not 3.5 miles, 3 miles 1. He won't mind the ground being quick at all. And he's got Brian Hughes back on board. I think they had the option of going here or going to the Sky Bet Chase off his handicap mark of 139. They've decided to come here. Look, I don't know. I mean, look, it's a stretch, isn't it? I know it's a stretch, but I just thought I wouldn't really want to back anything else in the race other than Puerto Rico.
Fair enough, mate. The only thing I'll say about those form figures with Brian Hughes on board, it would be Northern Circuit, wouldn't it? And let's be honest, even with my Gigginstown still, I could win some races around the Northern Circuit. George, bring some light to the race because Jamie's just all about the shorty. Daryl's not so keen about the shorty, but is very aware that...
You don't want to take away that Betfair scarf for tipping a 66 to 1 shot. So he's £21 to find. Like, get rid of that, boy.
Hey, he was a nose second in the Peterborough a couple of years
ago. Stop it. Right, so...
on a greyhound track at Huntington, I've been there. It's a fucking circle.
I think with the thing with Chantry House, but I'll say a little bit more after George has spoken because George is about to tee me up. But with Chantry House, like price-wise, he shouldn't be an even money poke. Like, it's not a coin flip whether the cheap pieces go out. There's more than just one question to answer, which is what Daryl's brought up. I do feel like he might drift out a little bit. I'd probably make him about a 2 to 1-ish poke, but then I wouldn't want to be laying him at 2 to 1. Probably wouldn't want to be getting too stuck into him. George, have they mentioned the horses that need to be mentioned, or is there something else in the race that you think's got a chance?
Well, they've all been mentioned, so they'll do well to miss one. But I'm very much the same page as Daryl, to be honest. Like, Chantry House is just a fraud for me. He's not a Grade 1 horse. I know this is a Grade 2 and a weak one at that, but his best run's probably his third in the Supreme, and that's harking back a few years. He's fallen into the marsh last year, sort of scrabbling home from Fusel raffles. Only won at Aintree because Espoir de Rome fell, and then all he's done since is beat Big Breakaway, who's never really lived up to what he was meant to be. So when he got smashed in at the King George, couldn't believe it personally, but you probably got to respect that the market knows more than you, but it didn't turn out that way that day. Anyway, the one that I quite like, not quite as mental as Darrell's, Santini, the next one in from the bottom of the betting. I know he's lost his way a bit the last sort of year, 2 years, but
lost your way anyway there, George.
He was placed in the Gold Cup. I know he's gone to Polygundry, which is not going to be a good step from coming out of 7 Barrows. And for some reason, he got smashed off the boards in a handicap off top weight here. Well, not smashed off the boards, but he was sort of 18s, 20s, gone into 6-1. First time out. I mean, if Nicky Henderson couldn't get him fit, I don't know why Polygundry or whoever it was that was backing him thought they could run him against Ed Walker's 5 furlong sprinters, but that obviously didn't work. With that under his belt, I've always thought he's been better on better ground. This is a weak enough race, and he's getting the £4 from my right and Chantry House. Agree, simply the bet doesn't stay. Getting double figures about Santini here, he's probably on. If everyone's back to their best, there's no saying he's going to be. He's the best horse. There's half chance he doesn't need to be anywhere near that. He might only have to run to 150, and I think he's probably got that in the locker still, to be quite honest. And you're getting 10 to 1 to find out.
He actually didn't run too badly either on his season return. He did far too much too soon.
Well, that was that race because Venetia had that Commodore, wasn't it, that was well supported on the day. But that was like a tearaway runner that goes out in front, a classic Venetia horse that's been like supported and goes and does what it does. He did a lot of hard work. Harry Skelton said after the race that he thought he ran really, really well for a long way. Another one we talk about a lot, like in running lanes and stuff like that. Like I know not everyone's into it, but I think Santini will travel well in this. I genuinely think Santini's the bet. I can't believe he's the price it is. He should be half the price, and he probably will be after this preview because me and George are so bullish. But you know, you do adjust.
Headgear's off though, Dave. That's the weird thing.
Yeah,
he's wrong last time, taking it off.
Yeah, but he doesn't need him, does he? They were on there to distract him, and now they want to make him concentrate. I think, you know, it's easy. Everyone can do this, apart from Lucinda Russell. You know, you get the races, and they tell you the race conditions where you can work out what the weights are going to be for the horses.
Oh, here we go.
Well, she put it in the post, didn't she? She's like, I will wait and see what the published weights are. It fucking tells you how to work it out. Anywho, if you do it on adjusted figures from their official ratings, Simply the Bets comes out as 161, Chantry House 160, I Write 159, Santini 158. The rest of them don't worth mentioning. But what I like to do with
the viewing numbers just gone down there, Darrell.
Probably. No, but what I like to do with this one is I like to just tweak numbers until they come into my favour. But basically, a lot of these horses' marks have changed off the back of their last run. Notably, I Write was up £8 for that win, and I don't think it warrants him being that close to being the forefront of this. So if we go back and do it on their previous official ratings, so the run before last, Santini comes out as 163, Chantry House comes out as 162, Simply the Bets comes out as 157, and I Write comes out as 151. I think if you look at that from a numbers perspective, that's more like the actual pecking order, but you've got even money Chantry and you've got 10 to 1 Santini. So it would be a price-driven bet in this, but Santini wins the Cotswold Chase again. Oh, come on. It's not that bad. George agreed with me.
I like it. Yeah, that run for fitness behind him last time. He'll try better than that. And he ran, like I say, he ran all right for a long way.
And she's already said that Nick Schofields riding him here, and then they're going to the Gold Cup. Like, whatever happens, he's going to the Gold Cup. So, I mean, he's going to win this. Is that enough said for the race? Should we go on to the race it's going to take 30 seconds to preview?
Let's do some questions.
Oh, go on then, questions.
This year's questions from the crowd.
All right. Who is best for the mares novice at the festival for Mullins? Grangy, Brandy Love, or Allegory Devassi?
They run against each other. They run against each other on Saturday, didn't they, in the Solarina? Paul Townend's on Brandy Love. I mean, me and George joked about this because she's a porn star, but who would turn down the chance to ride Brandy Love? But you get a penalty, didn't you, when you go into the mares because it's a grade 2. So Allegory Devassi with Sean O'Keefe on, maybe they want to get a beat.
Is Grangy in the race, Dave?
Yeah, all three of them are in,
They're all in the race. They're all in the race, are they?
Yeah. I think Grangy's in, isn't she? The three of them?
I think the weekend Brandy Love will win because they'll set its own fractions.
Yeah.
But I think if someone goes fast in the mares novice, because if you look back at the bumper last year, the mares bumper in Leopardstown, they went fast. And Brandy Love couldn't keep up. And then Grangy came all the way around and won. I think Grangy's a real fast-paced scene at their best, so I think it's Grangy for me.
So you like Grangy?
I don't care if it's beaten the weekend either.
No, I think you want it to get beat at the weekend. Darryl, you like Allegory Devassi, didn't you?
Yeah, I do like her. Yeah, I do want to see her again though before I get involved for Cheltenham because tonight she jumps a little bit like a chaser, and I'm just worried some of these some of these young improving mares just can flick over the top of their hurdles, and she might just end up getting outpaced. But
George,
we'll see. Saturday, tell us more.
Guess up for me, Dave.
All right, then we'll leave it as that. Then I'm the same, similar sort of guess up. I wouldn't expect that the winner on Saturday is the one that's going to win.
Any other questions,
come March? Yeah, any others?
You know the way they are watering the F out of Leopardstown at the moment. Do his think it's? It must be Sky. Do you think it's unfair on horses that would generally crave decent ground?
They need to change the chase track in Leopardstown and put it in the middle where the flat track is, and put the flat track on the outside. It's too obviously. There's no water getting down into the outside chase track, so they have to move it in.
Because it'll still be decent ground, won't it?
It'll be decent ground, but the problem is, are you going to get numbers, George? You're going to get pull-outs all the time. There's no rain forecast in Ireland till, God, I think middle of the week. It hasn't rained properly here, I'd say, which is weird for Ireland.
Yeah, but the question was...
I agree with you, Jamie. I mean, it will still be decent ground no matter how much water they put down. It's not unfair to decent ground.
As you see the headline there before Christmas, 45 millimetres, they're watered before the meeting at Christmas. 45 millimetres of rain. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Stephen's Day, still good to yielding on the 27th.
You can't do anything with it, can you?
You can't do anything, so you need to change the track.
So in answer to the question, no, it's not unfair to the horses that like good ground because it's fucking grade ones. Handle everything or go home is the answer. And
I agree.
I get the safety issue and I get that you want like some give in the ground, but they shouldn't let the Dublin Race Festival be run on good ground, the same as they probably shouldn't let Trials Day go on good ground. But it goes down to people's interpretation, doesn't it? They need, like Jamie said, they need to fundamentally do something about the track, don't they? Because the chase course, no matter how much you water it, and technically it doesn't matter how much rain you get, is always going to dry out too much. There was the year, wasn't there, when Delta Work won, where like 3 horses ran in the race. Absolute piss take. Any other questions, Daryl?
Bell was another one.
No, That's it.
Good, that's enough of the fans, because I'm sure there's no one to sit out. Cleve Hurdle, let's just do a quick clean sweep. We'll just do a show of hands. Champ wins? Move on. There's literally nothing else to talk about. I know someone mentioned McFabulous, but no chance is it in this, and it's got no chance come March.
No, he's better on a flat track, isn't he? And I'm not sure he's going to properly stay the 3 miles either. The only slight thing with Champ is God knows what's going to go forward, and he could be a bit lit up and keen, but even if he is, he should still be far too good and do the job, to be honest.
Definitely. Champ wins everything before him. So the classic Novices Hurdle, this is a race that I didn't look at too much because I started to look at it, it was frying my brain a little bit, but I've ended up whittling it down to a couple, and again, it's gone down to a price thing, why I'm going to back it. The King Horse, my screen won't load up with what it is, otherwise this will buffer too much, but I can't remember its name. The King Horse I wasn't expecting to run.
North
Lodge.
That's it, yeah.
Lodge.
I wasn't expecting it to run because he drifted a little bit in the short-term anti-post, but I think the back form of his racing is better. Like there's a line through Jombourne in there. Is it Hill...
Springtown Lodge or Springtown Lake or something.
That's it, yeah. We're like behind there. Like, and I think that's better form than what Henderson's horse has got. And Henderson's horse has got the profile of being like favourite for all those races and was well beaten at Aintree. So maybe you'd want to excuse the bumper, but I don't think you can excuse the bumper. I think it's won its races because it's been running in shit races. That, like probably deserves to be fav. Wouldn't want to be on the second fav, the Hemmings horse. So I think price-wise, I'd just with the side of Kings. Daryl, you've got a grimace on your face, fuming.
No. I agree. I did earlier for Gigi. Did side on the side of North Lodge. I thought it was a quite impressive debut performance. Really, I don't know if I could have Balco Coastal winning the crappy races at Ludlow and Huntington the last twice. Oh God, I don't know why they fancied so much. I thought Hillcrest was definitely the right favourite. I think he's the best horse in the race. It's very hard to win this under a penalty, though. I think only a couple of horses have. They've gone on to be pretty useful as well. The ones that did, I think. Holstone, Yanworth, at Fisher's Cross are the horses to have won this and under a penalty. So it is difficult to win under a penalty. If he goes from the front, he's quite a nice big galloping horse. He's not a horse you want to see in behind rivals because he probably hasn't got the pace to make up for a mistake and get back on terms. So if he's out in front and he's going to go and lead and he's going to set fractions and do his own thing, I think he'll be tough to pass. But I do like North Lodge. At the prices, he'd be the play for me. He's around 13-2 with Betfair, I think. Yeah, and obviously the other one beat Iron Maximus, which I think's pish form anyway. George, there was something I was going to... Oh, yeah, you were at the racecourse when Henderson's horse ran, weren't you?
Yeah, I was at Huntington. One of our mates was when Balco Coastal won, and we were there sort of watching them go down to post. And he was sort of 15-8 on the boards. went and got a pint quickly, came back like 5 minutes later. He's gone to 8 to 13 or 8 to 11 or whatever he went off at. It was mental. It was like, well, where on earth that money come from? And then to be honest, after that, you think, oh, he's going to piss up here. And until Tom Simmons one fell at the second last or the last, he was going to have a hard enough race. So one of those that probably a bit of a morning glory, shows plenty at home and then doesn't quite bring to the track. But you'd think with Iron Maximus last time, Nick, you'll have a fair idea what he's going to have to come up against with Hillcrest, even though Hillcrest probably wasn't fully extended last time. But yeah, same page as you guys with North Lodge here. Like the form's worked out the best. Step Up and Trip looks like it was soon. The only thing is Alan King, I don't think he's had a winner in his last 50 runners on the overjumps. But
Oh, fuck off, George. Don't listen. We don't talk about trainer form.
You're a flat trainer.
You've impressed me tonight, George, all the way up until that one point there.
so, we can edit that out, Daryl, then. We'll edit out the video.
No, it's live. It's live. It's been said now. Yeah, Daryl doesn't believe in trainer form in any level whatsoever, which is fair enough. Jamie, before George and Daryl... Oh, you can't beat each other up. Can you do live on camera?
Come here, Dave. I'll ask you one question. Why don't you like Ian Maximus? He's definitely a player in one of the handicaps of Cheltenham. Like.
Yeah, but I like his like for like a career thing for Ian Maximus.
Oh, I know. I understand.
I think he might be like 140s max. He's not near that yet, so beating him's not that good a form. I think.
I know what Darren is saying. Like, it's very hard to win on. I can't see him being beating Hillcrest. I think he's a monster. He's a fucking big horse. Like to size him, like, you know, if he goes out in front and sets his own fraction, I can't see anything past him. To be honest with you, I don't think anything will pass him. It's poor enough race, to be honest with you, Dave. Could you see a Ballymore Cup winner coming from that? My answer is no.
But then
I'm not being smart or English Irish crap. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a poor enough renewal, I think.
But then it's a poor enough renewal of the Barrymore full stop. So if Hillcrest does go into the business or something does win it well, they'll become prominent in that market, won't they?
But look, it's just poor. And look, I think Hillcrest will win. I know it's 13 to 8, 7 to 4, whatever. Look, I just think he'll win. Just back it.
Nice.
Coastal, nah, not for me.
Happy days. Right, so we will move on to, we talked about this being a bad race. Let's move on to the feature race of the day. Back Willie's in the bumper, isn't it, essentially? But before we go on to that, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of a short list of horses that I had in here. I'm not a massive fan of Fergal's one because it's a classic example of using other horses as yardsticks for how a horse's race should have panned out. The second and third that were behind Hidden Beauty at Cheltenham ran against each other after. The second was battered 17.5 lengths by the then third. So if they hadn't run against each other and say only the third had come out, the form would look shit hot. You'd think, wow, this horse has come out and won by 17.5. Or if the third hadn't have been in that race, it was a different horse, and the second had been beaten 17.5 lengths, you'd say it's pants form. So I think it's just middling form. I think it will hold a lot of the market up. Obviously, with Willie's being in there, that's a half sister to Rathvinden. That will hold up a lot of the market as well. So I thought there'll be plenty of runners because people are going for this black type that doesn't even exist anymore because any mare that's just got to a racecourse, they class that as bloody black type now. It's just useless. So I thought there'd be a couple of interesting ones to look at. The two that I want to take on against that lot, and I think we might get 4 places of some novelty bookie. Fairy Gem for Harry Fry's the most fancied of the two, I think, from my perspective. So full sister to Angel's Breath, stayed on nicely the last day, only just won, but she's got a tongue tie on this time. I think that'll suit. And then Walk the Storm, which, to be fair, I think trainer record's not so bad in bumpers. George helped me a little bit with that one, but it's just he's not the most status of trainers. But it's a half sister to Tornado Fly. There's a bit of Hurricane Fly in the family there, so I think that's going to be a big price. So I'd probably look at Fairy Gem as the each-way bet in the race, even though each way's for pussies, and then I'd look for a second each-way cover bet on Walk the Storm, because if you get 4 places, we could get 3rd and 4th, or Willie's might get beat. But Patrick's come over as well. Jamie, as you're our man on the other side of the sea, does Patrick Mullins and Willie Mullins win?
I presume he'd be favourite anyway, Dave, and probably take up a lot of the market. I agree with you.
10-3 early prices.
It's not a bad price. Is he favourite, Georgia?
Yeah,
favourite.
Whatever the Irish one is.
Yeah, Nos na Guiha, like the wind in Irish. That's an Irish saying. Like
rather you than me.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I was agreeing with you there with the Fergal horse because the two ran again and the third horse pissed up at Dutoxeter afterwards, and I'd give that a chance. And I'd give a chance to that Ned's Bell of Donald McCain. Any horse to win a bumper by 17 lengths, 2 mile 1 on the Carlisle will definitely interest. Now the form's crap because all the rest of them will come out and done nothing. Now, I will say you have to take Nos na Guiha seriously. because the two horses that beat it, Harmonia Star and the Model Kingdom, are going to be probably first and second favourite for the Mayor's Bumper next week in the Double Race Festival. I was only beaten 4 or 5 lengths by them, 14th one that day. I know Jodie Town was on it. Would you prefer Jodie Town then, who had a winner today, and Goran Parker or Patrick Mullins? I know who I prefer. So, Pentatree looks a great bet. Now, obviously, if it goes on and wins, then you have to take the Model Kingdom and Harmonia Star very seriously for next week. But I think they're going to be first and second favourite for that, so it has to be Nasnaguia for me. Yeah. I know I'm just being Irish angle too, but it's just, I think it's that form. That bumper was really hot that day, that Mayor's Bumper in Navan. So it's Nasnaguia for me.
Happy days. Dazzler, how did you see it, mate?
I don't like these races, Dave. But I can't believe that Fairy Gem's a 14-1 shot. I think that's massive.
14?
Yeah, 14-1.
I think that was about 6-1 on the tissue, I think, when we talked earlier, George, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see 14. I mean, this is probably William Hill prices, try and get a mark on the card. But I thought she did remarkably well, really, to win at Plumpton. We spoke about this earlier, didn't we? She did really, really well to come from well off the pace. I didn't think anything went right for her. And she stuck to the task really well, so strong at the finish. What that form is worth at the moment, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? But this is not a race where I can get in too deep with. To be honest, Dave, I won't be able to bet on it.
Apart from Fairy Gem at 14s, if it's still available. George!
Yeah, I can't get too excited about it. I'm purely going on Willie's in the bumper sort of angle. Nasnaguia would be the one. If you're having a bad day, you'd probably try and get out on it, but otherwise, leave it alone.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, like Jamie's touched on there, like we think she'll be short. I mean, most people would suspect that anyway. 100 to 30 is probably not a bad price. Again, don't know who it's with, but one of those you could got a couple of days before and maybe get a few quid or get it in some mark with the day. Is there anything away from Cheltenham that anyone would like to put up?
Well, yeah, there's going to be one thing there. I haven't looked at it, but there's going to be a shit half 3 mile Novice Chase in Naas on Sunday. There's definitely going to be pointers towards the Cheltenham Festival. It's Statler, Vanillier,
Ombaton.
Ombaton. What else is in it? There's some other horse that I can't think of the name, but there's something else in it.
Fury Road?
Fury Road, no, there's another one. Look, I get that if anyone else wants to keep going there. But look, that looks the race, do you know what I mean? They all have to qualify if they want to go to the National Hunt Chase, and the others will go to the 3 mile or whatever. But it's probably all this is your trial probably for the National Hunt Chase.
Like it. Anything from you, Darren, away from Cheltenham?
Yeah, give me one in Doncaster in the 210. Anna Benina to beat Miranda. I don't think Miranda's coming into this race quite in the form she was in last year. Now, at Ludlow, she lost 8 to 10 lengths at the start. But by the third hurdle, she had already latched onto the pack. They went so slowly that early on, it barely inconvenienced her at all. And she won by nose, beating Voice of Calm, who's come out and boosted the form next time. But the race was terrible that Voice of Calm won. A lot of people have raved about that, saying, oh my God, she lost 10 lengths at the start and she's still managed to win. She must be a really good horse. But she hampered another horse at the start with her, a horse called Marta de Mots, who was a 10-1 shot, running £5 out of the handicap. It's rated 112, and it was only beaten 6 lengths. So I think Miranda's price has been contracted been so short because they've overestimated that performance that she at Ludlow last time. Now, she did win this race last year, but her previous runs before that I don't think have been up to the level she was performing at last year. So I want to take her on. I didn't think Anna Benina was suited by Musselburgh last time out. That was her first start of the season. I think she's entitled to improve for that run, fitness-wise. Her 2 runs at the time before that in the Scottish Champion Hurdle behind Milkwood looked very, very strong in the context of this race. And her 8th in the County Hurdle I thought was a decent run. I think she's rock solid to run her race. I'm hoping that she'll get a good pace to aim at because they're running Western Victory for some strange reason 7 days later after a really, really hard race at Ascot. And I think that will just set it up for her. I think Western Victory might just break this race apart a little bit. I think Miss Heritage wants soft ground, and I couldn't have the Skelton horse outside her. So I thought Anna Benina at 4-1 was a good bit of value there.
Nice. And George, there is no way in the world you haven't got some absolute pearls stuck up. To be fair, I mean, this is very end of it. No one will be watching now, but you do stick like your selections and the bets you're having up on Twitter as well, didn't you? But you mentioned to me earlier that you could have a couple for tomorrow. So anyone that's watching it now and got the benefit of it, did you have any Friday fancies?
Yeah, I quite like Honest Vic in the Thames qualifier. So 3:10 at Huntingdon. I know it's a Thames qualifier. You probably need to be a bit careful and going too mental in those, depending on what the horses are looking at, whether they actually want to be winning or not. But this Honest Vic absolutely bolted up in one of the qualifiers at Cheltenham last year from a few pounds lower, and then he was sort of kept away for the actual final itself. Ran all right in that, but he was running off 150 there. I mean, he's not a graded horse, which is what he'd need to be going closer than that off 150. They've tried to go over fences with him this year, and he's not really taken to it. He's sort of been fairly well backed on most occasions, shaped all right in some stages, and just not looking like the same horse he is. He's reverted to hurdles here in what, to me, looks like really, really weak race. He's back down to 146 now, I think, and good ground, perfect for it. I really think he should be going quite close here, to be honest. So you've got Bells of Peterborough at the top of the market. This race that he won last time completely fell apart. The other horses didn't really handle the ground or didn't stay in the form of Cates, and so that was sort of a bit of a nothing race. This is Lowe's Harder at £8. Tip Top Cat, yeah, he's been in good form, but this is Lowe's Harder again. The one at the top that I'd be a bit more worried about is that Gazette Bourgeoise, and the seconds sort of come out and won easy enough, and he's not actually up that much in the handicap. So there's enough reasons to take on the top of the market. And Honest Vic really interested me, and Mill Green did as well, with sort of a really eye-catching run in Martin Pipe a couple of years ago, and that's the same, not quite taking defences, back over hurdles. And I fancy them both to be having a good go here rather than just trying to run around and qualify for the final, to be honest.
Beauty. So that's lined our pockets for Saturdays. I do appreciate all of your effort and times this evening, because it has been a long old slog. We're nearly approaching 10 o'clock.
Farouk Delan was the other one, Dave, sorry.
Oh, yeah, man like Farouk Delan. We love him. He needs bad slow ground, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know, does he, Dave? To be honest with you, it was background that day, and I can't believe Master McShee has won a grade one. But if you look at the form with Farouk Delan, he won at Navan. We always said we couldn't go right-handed and left-handed. Then you have Blue Sarri, who I quietly fancy for the plate after his Coral Cup run last year with Heaven Help Us. And then there's a horse, actually, they ran in the beginner of Chase Leopardstown, and there's a horse that you fancied last year for the Martin Pipe, who I think if he ran in the Ultimate would have a great chance, called Fleur. So, there's this collateral form all over there, like, if they all run, but they're all qualifying for National Chase. But to me, I think Statler, is the one, and I think Statler will run in the National Chase, and I think he's the right chance now, because Capitano looks like he'll go for the Brown Advisory.
Yep. All over the shop, innit? Right, I'm going to wrap it up now, if that's all right with you guys. Thank you very much for your time and effort. Yep. I'm definitely going to have the most winning selections out of all of this, for a fact. So if any of you get more winning selections than me,
miracles do happen, Dave.
Yeah, I know. It's Cheltenham Festival Trials Day, innit? It's the easiest meeting of the whole season to pick winners at. And I'll prove it with Santini and the likes going in. So again, yeah, thank you very much for all of your time. I'm going to cut you off now because it's live, so I'll catch you on WhatsApp or whatever.
Later, y'all.
Night.
Bye.